Howdy-ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns and welcome to another episode of Funny Beloved Pet Stories. So we're going to keep going down the spirit storyline till I run out of spirit stories. So I told you last week about the waterbed. Well, I'm going to tell you that was the good waterbed story. Here is the bad one. Well, it depends how you look at it. So the backstory to this is I had a roommate from hell. Absolute roommate from hell. I didn't want him as a roommate, but my other roommate was friends with him and brought him in. So fine, whatever. And the lease was in my name. Like I think I was like 24 years old at the time. So I was a young guy. And the lease was in my name. So I was responsible for paying rent. So I would collect the rent from Jim and I'd collect the rent from our other roommate, Ron. And then Troy moved into the basement, so I would collect the rent from Troy, and then I'd go pay the rent every month. And Jim's rent, no problem. Ron's rent, no problem. Troy's rent, bounced. His check bounced every single frickin' month. And I was getting really fed up with it because every time his check bounced, I would get charged $25 NSF charges. So now I'm paying even more money, and I'm getting really aggravated. And Spirit, well, if you've ever had cats bonded to you, they pick up on this stuff. Cats or dogs, or rabbits too, actually. They pick up on this. And as I told you in the last video, Spirit, for years, I would take the bedding off my waterbed and I'd go wash the bedding and she would just scamper all over the bed chasing the air bubbles. And I never had a single hole in my waterbed. Never once. She just had a great time, and once she was tuckered out, she would curl up and go to sleep happily. Well, that wasn't quite the case with Troy. I was aggravated. This had been going on for a few months now, and I wanted to kick him out. And eventually I did kick him out. I just told Jim tough. He's not paying his rent, so he's out. But before that happened, Spirit decided it was her duty to stop this aggravation. So one day out of the blue, she hopped onto Troy's waterbed. I'm guessing he was doing laundry himself that day because cats can't get through a comforter and that into a water. You have to have the bladder just open. And she hopped on his waterbed and she extended her claws and she walked up and down his water bladder. 100 tiny little pinprick holes in his bladder. And then she hopped off. And he came home and he didn't notice and he made his bed and he got into his bed and he was soaked. Absolutely soaked. And he was angry. And he's like, I'm going to kill that fucking cat. I'm like, yeah, you're not touching my cat, buddy. That's a line too far. You go near that cat, and I was 6'2", around 220 pounds of muscle at the time. So it's like, you go near that cat and you and I are going to have real issues. And Troy was like 5'9", maybe 165 pounds. So it would have been a very one-sided interaction. And so he's like, well, you have to pay for the waterbed. I'm like, okay, no problem. I'll take it out of the rent you owe me for the last 3 months. Ooh, did he not like that? I adore that cat. I adore Spirit for doing that. It was so out of her character, but like I said, cats, dogs, rabbit, pets, once they bond with you, they're bonded with you. And they pick up when you're aggravated, annoyed, depressed, upset. And she figured it out. And nobody's ever going to convince me otherwise. She figured it out and she said, I'm going to take action into my own hands. Funniest damn thing I've ever seen. Really was. And yeah, I had to take her in and she got put down not long after that, unfortunately. Like I said, I got her back in the 80s. That's why I use AI for the pictures, is because I have no pictures of her. I wish I did, but I have no pictures of her. But back in the 80s, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have cell phones and Google and everything. So I had no clue what I was doing as an owner. Like, I was feeding her, I was giving her attention, but I wasn't taking her for shots and everything. And she got sick, unfortunately, and had to be put down at age 4. But yeah, it is those 4 years I had her, I freaking adored that cat. And I wish I'd been a better owner. I've said it in the other videos. I'm going to keep saying it. You can't do what you don't know. And I just didn't know. Nowadays, I know, like my cats, they are treated like gold. And, they get their shots every year. And, if they get the sniffles, I'm taking them to the vet. And they always live full lives. But sadly, I didn't know a Spirit. But yeah, I think back to these stories and they just make me smile. I love that cat. Just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She was awesome. Anyway, that's my video for this week. If you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders. And I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm. Also, eventually I'm going to run out of stories on my pets. So if you come into and leave a comment about your stories, I can make videos out of those stories. I'll give you full credit. If you give me pictures, I'll use the pictures. But please come in and give me stories so that I can keep this video series going every Friday. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.